Hi, I'm Jeff Gould, America's Storyteller. What is the hardest job you can possibly ever get? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's parent, dad, mom. Oh my goodness. This is the most difficult occupation you will ever take on, but it's also the most worthy and the most satisfying and the greatest potential to get the most personal growth out of it. However, it's full of risk. So let me just talk about some solid hacks that you can use to help you become a better parent. We stole these from teachers. We'll talk to you about the biggest thing that you can do when you come home from work. And we'll talk about some of the strategies you use to create a solid family. Okay, so let's go to the story map. That's right. We're going to bring our old friend in here, Mr. Sigmoid Curve, right? So this is you going through school, and all of a sudden, you're in the first quarter of life, right? So here you are, and you're trying to figure out your purpose. It's possible you will figure it out by the time you graduate from school, but it's not likely. And then you're going to have to jump into the job course and you're going to have to figure it out at the same time, roughly the same time. You're going to have a family to take care. You have two sigmoid curves going on at the same time. So while you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do in this work segment, you have you have the potential of kids. And now you realize in the second quarter of life, you're going to have to take a back seat because the purpose, well, it's just been buried by mortgage and relationships and responsibilities. Now, after the kids leave the house, you can circle back around and get significance, and that leads to honor. Those are different videos for different types. I want to talk about this right now, and I want to talk about specifically your kids. All right. Any teacher will tell you that the secret to classroom discipline is classroom management. And they'll tell you the secret to that is liking the kids, right? If you don't like the students, they figure it out and they don't like you back. As a parent, you are hardwired to love your children, but any parent will tell you that you don't always like them. So, how do you manage to that like a teacher? You're going to use a 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio. Okay. This means that you're going to try to catch them being good 3 times before you ever say anything negative. How does one do that? Well, you bring it into you actually regulate for that. You organize to that. Every single day, you say, "Okay, let's get up in the morning and let's get our clothes on. You look great today," and you find ways to pour into them because when they go to school, they may not be in that kind of environment. So you want to make sure that when they're in your home, you're giving them more positive to negative. Second, and this I'm stealing from Brian Dodge. And he said, bring energy home. Brian Dodge is a speaker, and this is the number one thing he said. I loved this when I was a parent of children. Bring energy home. If you are in the workplace and you're gassed out by the time you get home, that's not a good idea because you know who doesn't show up at your nursing home? Your former coworkers and your boss. You know who does show up at your nursing home? The kids. They're the ones who are picking all of that. So the important relationship is the longest lasting relationship, and that is kids. And you do that by bringing energy home. Dads are naturally wired to put on the hat of provision, they are not naturally wired to put on the hat of relationship. Many a father will take 2 jobs to make sure his kid can go to camp and never take the kid camping or play ball or fish or whatever that is, right? So it's the relationship that your kid cares about. And you do that by making sure that the best 2 hours of your day are when you're home with your children. The other thing, which is counterintuitive, you would ask people, hey, what makes for great adults? Solid. And they would say, I don't know, education, economics, good neighbors, good friends. Interestingly enough, If you have 3 meals a week with your family, 3 meals a week, that's it. That is the biggest predictor of confidence and success going forward. Weird. That's it. And no, I'm not talking about handing it backwards through the minivan to the back seat. I'm talking sitting around the dining room table and saying, "So, tell me 5 things about your day," or "Tell me the best thing about your day." And then, "What's the worst thing about your day?" Everybody gets a chance around the table. Then you as parents can share that, yeah, life is always difficult. This I did this today and I did this today and this was difficult for me today. And you share those battles around the table. And then like like warriors, you are in the safety of the castle walls, binding up each other's wounds and ready to go into the next day. I actually wrote that in one of my books, The Green. Where's my other? Here it is, right here. It's somewhere in this book right here, if you're interested. This is the orange book. This is for the first quarter of life. I also did something called Father's Wisdom, and that is designed to be listened to as you're driving down the road. We know that most people communicate deeper truths when they don't have to look each other in the eye. And a lot of these meaningful conversations happen in the car as you're talking to the road side by side. Interesting. So, Father's Wisdom was designed to do that. It is 47 little stories that were designed for a 10-year-old being told by his parents, but I have discovered it works surprisingly well for all ages. Okay? And it's cheap at twice the price. Believe me, I've been told that. It's in the description below. In the meantime, remember this: if you do it correctly, your children will be a blessing to you for the rest of your lives. So it's imperative you put this energy in now while you can. I'm Jeff Gould, America's Storyteller. Have any questions, reach out to me. God bless.